Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the stock market update video. And today we'll be looking at QQQ as well as 7 mega cap techs and to give us more clues where the market is going to be heading into next week. It's been one heck of a week, and we have 3 weeks of straight waterfall. And so we'll take a look to see if we're going to get more downside, or is this going to be a temporary bottom where we bounce and go from there. So we'll be looking at starting QQQ on the weekly time frame. And right now, QQQ has been dropping till very clear level of support. So you can see that we went down to 444.47, which is this structure right here. So that structure right here is we pretty much consolidated there for 2 months. Remember, from February all the way to March and April, we went sideways completely. And then once that broke, that's where we got that waterfall drop. And now we're pretty much back testing that level. You can see this level pretty much came down to this level, which was prior resistance. So prior resistance now acting as support. It makes sense because on this whole way up, wasn't much support. You can see even on the volume here, not much going on. A little bit of support here, so it makes sense that we bounced here last week. And other than that, not much sideways structure at all, other than this structure where we built along the way for at least 2 months here. So makes perfect sense, right? After a 3-week drop of straight down, and that we are getting at least that defense from the bulls, And next week, this low is gonna be super key because if we flush through this low, we're likely gonna come down a little bit lower into probability 441 here, due to it being getting closer to the middle of the structure where you can see all these volumes, right? So this is where we bounce off of it so far for now. Let's keep things simple with this volume profile. You see this volume bar here. That means there were a lot of demand here. So now that it's coming down to it, it will act as support because it's prior resistance. Now it can support. So if we do flush through there, you can see there's less volume between here and the next area, which is this cluster, right? And between this zone, so it'll be this area. If we do get through that, I'm looking potentially this 441, 440 zone. If we do break that, I don't expect us to go straight down. That's my personal opinion. I don't think we're going to go straight down, although it's only 2% away. We can get there in one day. But if we do get there, I'm thinking more so a slight bounce on a daily, right? We can form something like this, where we form this daily bear flags, and then potentially to head down there again, right? We are getting a little bit oversold on the daily, not quite there yet. It's 30, 35 at the moment. And so yeah, so if we do flush straight there, then that could be a buying opportunity for a bounce. If we get down closer to this 440 zone, I'll be looking for a buy. But before that, not really looking for a buy. Maybe if we hold this low and then we bounce big enough, right? If we form a higher low and we start curling up for that daily uptrend, I might take a buy here and instead my stop loss below that pivot of the higher low, and then see if we can get that daily uptrend confirming. If not, if we bounce and we make a lower high and roll over, I stop out for a small loss. If we do get that bounce, daily uptrend, then I would keep my stop here and potentially look for a bigger move because we just confirmed a daily uptrend. Potentially may come back up a little bit higher for more of a bigger bounce. Then that'd be, if we confirm daily uptrends, maybe a good chance that I actually caught the bottom, right? If I don't catch the bottom, I get stopped out for a small loss. That's okay. So that'll be my plan, and we'll see what happens, right? Or we get that flush, right, all the way down. Then I try to nail the bottom here, and once we get that bounce, I go in and I set my stop below the low of the day, and we'll see if it's not the bottom, then I get stopped out for another small loss. And it's tricky to nail the bottom, so that's why I like looking for that higher low pivot. Once we get a higher low and then get in, then potentially get that uptrend. So that'll be a little bit easier to manage versus trying to nail the bottom here. It'll be something like this, right? Big enough bounce. And if this had a small retracement, that would be the higher low, right? But it didn't make a lower low. So there was no entry here. Same thing here, big enough bounce. If we only retrace 50% and then start curling up, that will be a higher low. But no, it didn't. It made a lower low. So no entries here at all. No entries here at all because it never made that higher low that I'm talking about, that pivot. So if we do form something like that here, then I may go for an entry here. So we'll see about that. But as of now, bulls did play defense off of this structure. So let's see if they will play offense. When we zoom into the hourly chart, very clear tiny range down here, right? Can't get more tight than this. Like you can see, move down, move up, just gets tighter and tighter. So it's going to be very clear as where it's going to break, right? If it breaks bull, and potentially we may get that move. If it breaks bear, probably more downside. So very clear tiny range here on the hourly, and we'll see which way it breaks. I'll probably play this break due to the amount of drop that we've been dropping. So if it breaks bull, you can get in and then just step your stop loss either at the low of Friday or low of that breakout. So depending on your risk management and your sizing for your positions, where you want to place your stop. All right, let's take a look at the 7 mega cap techs. Tesla, Meta, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Meta, and Nvidia to give us more clues to see where Q is going to bounce, and where Q is going to bounce is going to dictate where SPY is going to bounce, of course. So that's why I looked at Qs a lot more often, because Qs are 30% weighted in SPY, so definitely going to move it. I guess 33 now, I think, due to the size of its move. All right, let's look at Tesla. Not great. It's pretty much retracing almost all of this move. And it makes sense. I mean, the market's weak, so it's actually performing okay due to how weak the market's been. And if the market start bouncing, then we may potentially bounce back out of this range again. It's looking like a big falling wedge at this moment. So we'll see. Slightly bear break here after hours, but I don't really want to count that at this moment unless we open down here, back test, rejection, and then head lower. Then if that happens, we're probably coming down to this 200 psychological support. We bounce, back test this wedge, and it starts to active resistance. Likely going to head to 200, my opinion. But if we just, let's say we gap up Sunday night over night, come back into here, then we're looking back up potentially at 222 on the top of this resistance. Those are the two ranges for me. All right, let's look at Meta. So Meta had decent earning and still can't withstand the market. It was the only one that's green, I think, in Apple. I forgot what week was that. It was on Thursday. Yeah. So big pop. I think I was talking about this on Wednesday too, that we may form that potential head and shoulders here. I was saying on Wednesday, right after the Jerome's meeting, FOMC, we had a bullish day. I was saying that we weren't out of the woods yet at all for the market. We had a big bounce. I want to see the higher low set, a higher high to get that daily uptrend. So I made sure I told everyone to be careful because there was still a lot of red flags in the mega cap techs. And yeah, essentially we made a lower low. So we'll see if next week will be the week that we get that bounce on the weekly charts. But Meta is back down here again. So indecision candle Friday, and we're pretty much trading within this structure as resistance and this structure as support. So these two, this one as resistance. You can see we got up to here, couldn't get over it, and came back down here. This lower end of the wick is this structure acting as support. So bulls are playing defense here, bears are playing defense up here. So we'll see which way it resolves on Monday and Tuesday for the battle between bears and bulls. So very clear zone, resistance, and support zone. Amazon here had I want to say terrible earnings, but a terrible earnings reaction. We pretty much flushed, and then we went a little bit lower. Market open, came back up, and you can see there's just not a lot of support right along this way, especially this gap right here. The last earnings ended up being filled, and it came back up. Let's see if it totally filled on the daily. And let's see. Kind of, not really. Yeah, we came down here below a little bit. No. This one already fell from this candle. No, I was looking at the wrong candle. Let's see here. Almost did. So it was right here. Yeah, so essentially, bears should have been able to fill this. So it's a good sign for Amazon bulls at least, because we were like what $1 away from it. It just hit that 160 psych, and then it didn't go lower. But yeah, if there's two things here, when it gets so close to that gap and bears don't fill it, that means bears are running out of powder here. So that's the first sign that bears are running out of steam. And because second is that because there's no volume, right, in a gap. So that's why it's supposed to be easy for the bears to fill it. So if they can't fill it, that means they are running out of a bit of steam. So that's the second thing here. So it does make sense, right? After they can't fill it, bulls just bought it up. Let's see how it looks like. Yeah. It couldn't fill it. Incomplete gap fill. Bounce. Held pretty well, actually, throughout the whole day. While QQQ was just the low of his day grinding sideways. I mean, this did grind, but like this was a nice recovery here. So same thing, tiny range with the QQQ, right? Friday's high, be key, and low of the day. If they break the low of the day, obviously you're gonna fill the gap. I hope so. I mean, it's $1. If bears can't even fill the gap, if we broke the low of the day, then I don't know what they're doing. But yeah, I don't think we're gonna fill this gap after that, unless market just roll over like a rock again. Then Amazon will probably hold its this low, in my opinion. If we break Friday's high, then we're probably looking back up at this earnings reaction sideways range here. Closer to this 174 will be resistance for me here. Yeah. All right, let's look at Google. Google. Okay, so Google held low of this day. So higher low. Okay, so it's starting to shape a little bit where these mega cap techs are starting to hold higher lows. You see QQQ hit, you know, lower lows, right? Lower than this low. But Google is holding higher than its prior low. So that's a good sign. So if we do bounce here, we may potentially set that higher low. But due to the size of these retracements, we may form a tiny range here, then break out. So we have to see if Google can break above this Wednesday's high. It's a very good sign. And we may potentially head higher. But at this moment, we'll have to see what it wants to do. But yeah, super key. If we can break this Wednesday's high, it shifts the whole momentum around. But if it's just tiny range, which is quite possible, then we'll have to see which way it breaks. Let's see Microsoft here. Yeah, Microsoft, same thing. Friday didn't break the lows of prior day or earnings rejection. So it's actually holding as well. So we can see if all these mega cap techs start to hold a little bit higher than it's, well, you can't see on the daily, but on the 4 hour, you can, because it's after hours on this earnings reaction low. So if all these mega cap techs start hold their prior low and makes a higher low just means, you guys know, higher than the prior low, and then confirms, breaks the top of Friday and confirms those uptrends, then we may get some support on Qs, right? And the Qs may actually start to form some kind of support over time, and we'll be able to get that bounce going. So we do have a slight clues where we may be able to shape that up, but bulls need to literally show up Sunday night and Monday to get that bounce going. They can drop a little bit on Monday, you know, and then they need to pretty much show up right away. But yeah, it's getting pretty tight. If Microsoft breaks this low, and Google and Amazon breaks their prior low, man, market will be down another 3% on the Qs for sure. Maybe even more than that. But so we'll have to see. And Apple, lead bull, right? So really good earnings and held. Was pretty much the only thing that was green on Friday, but it did give back a little bit at the end of the day. So I don't think Apple's going to do much. You can see how sideways it's been trading. So 214 lows is what I'll be watching. And even before that, you'll probably need to break this triple bottom first at this 216, right? If we break out of this range bear, market's probably going to drop quite a bit as well. because Apple is pretty weighted. Let's see how many percent would that be. Yeah, 2.6%. Yeah, definitely would move Qs a little bit. And if we break bull, break out of this range back above this rising wedge. So I'll be looking at this black line, which is all these resistance above us. So we need to break this 225 for any kind of bullish move. Otherwise, it's going to be chopping range, and we'll know what it's going to keep doing. So not much going on if Apple continues to do that. So no big deal. And the most key for me would be Nvidia. So Nvidia, it's dragging down the semiconductor sector and the semiconductor sector, SMH, and it's pretty much dragging down Qs. So you can see SMH down 5.4%, right? It's completely dragging down the Qs. It's been like 5 to 6% every day for past week, and dragging down the Qs. So if Nvidia starts to hold itself up, right, then semiconductor is going to stabilize a little bit. And if they stabilize a little bit, Qs are going to be able to stabilize a little bit as well. So at this moment, that's one of my key watches. Nvidia did make a higher low here. You can see it's higher than this low. So similar idea to all these mega cap techs. But because of this range is so big, the most likely scenario is going to be a tiny range. Obviously, if it V shapes, which is the less likely scenario, then good for the bulls, right? But currently, the most likely scenario probably going to come back up to that 116 again and drop a little bit. And if it can form that tiny range down here and then break above, that's a good sign, right? So we'll key watch 116, right? We got over it, a fake out, came back below. See how many times we've been ejecting from it. Support, support, resistance, resistance, resistance. Fake out. Now we're back below support. Made a higher low, so potential sign we can bounce here, but not much given from the bulls yet at this moment. All right, I'm going to do the commodities update tomorrow. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. And I will see you guys tomorrow. And feel free to check out the Patreon links as well as support the channel. And check out the Discord link. It's all free. And come hang out, talk about stocks, talk about the stock market, all right, commodities. And I will see you guys around.